Hi, this is Nick from ZebraHost, and today I'm going to be giving you a demonstration of how Zebra Ransomware Stopper can protect your organization from a nasty ransomware attack that could potentially cost your business millions. At ZebraHost, we've noticed a lot of our clients have become especially concerned with ransomware, and rightfully so. Ever since about 2019 or so, ransomware attacks have become far more prevalent. They're attacking far more industries, and should that ransom need to be paid, that ransom is going to be far more expensive than it used to be. This video today is going to cover how Zebra Ransomware Stopper works. You're going to actually be able to see it stop an encryption process in real time, and it's going to allow you to get an idea of if Zebra Ransomware Stopper is the right solution for your business. Now let's talk about the machine that I'm going to be testing Zebra Ransomware Stopper on. This is a virtual machine running in our Verge Cloud OS, and it's a Windows Server 2019 version 1809 machine. Now, one thing I want to point out is that Zebra Ransomware Stopper is a white label name for CryptoStopper, which is the solution that allows us to stop ransomware. ZebraHost is an official reseller of CryptoStopper, and if you are interested in purchasing a license, you can go through ZebraHost because we are a channel partner. Now, here's where I'd like to point your attention to. In order to demonstrate this, I have a bunch of files here that are just plain files that I made up with a little bit of information in them, and they basically just contain, normal information, right? I've got some Excel documents, I've got a PDF, a docx with a business plan, an RTF with some plans for a Christmas party, a copy of all these in a subfolder, and some marketing material that is in this folder. And none of this is encrypted right now. What's going to happen though is that once I unleash the script that's going to start the encryption process, we're going to see that a couple of these may get encrypted. But here's how Zebra Ransomware Stopper protects your files. When I go to View, I'm going to click this Hidden Items folder. And as you can see, a bunch of files just popped up. What these are the Honeypot files. And the way they work is you can think about them like a tripwire. When an encryption process starts, it's going to start infecting from the files. It's usually A to Z or Z to A. And as they pass over these honeypot files, it's going to stop the encryption process and send me an alert that says an encryption process is started. That process is going to be stopped, but if it's a server, then it's going to shut down the server automatically. And if it's a workstation, it's going to send me a prompt asking me if I started the encryption process and give me a chance to whitelist the process on the system, should it be a legitimate encryption process I actually want to do. All the honeypot files you can tell even if you show them instead of make them hidden, because they are going to be just some basic files that have 2 words and a extension of just different random file types. So we're going to see convert resize.wma, complete skip mpeg2, for example. These are miscellaneous files. They have no content and in some cases can't even be loaded by Windows. And ultimately, this is really where the main benefit for your business lies, because even if a couple of these files get encrypted, you're still going to have most of your most up-to-date files. The way ransomware is working these days is that a lot of intelligent ransomware can actually stay dormant on a system for even about a month. And so at that point, it gets completely embedded into your backups. So if a ransomware is programmed to go off after, let's say, 15 days or randomly after about 5 days, those backups are effectively worthless because they're now infected. This way, even if you have to get rid of everything in your infrastructure, at the very least you can keep your most up-to-date files once these tripwire files stop that encryption process. Alright, so I'm going to just hide this real quick so that it looks normal again, and I'm going to actually show you how this is going to work, and I'm actually going to begin the encryption process itself. Alright, so I'm going to go to my system right now, and then I'm going to go to my local disk, scripts. Oh, and actually before I do this, I want to show you something real quick, because this is how we're going to actually identify what got encrypted. As you can see on this date modified, none of these match the current time, and that's because these are all just files that have not been encrypted. I have not touched them, at least in this past day. And what's going to happen is once an encryption process happens, you're going to see some of these files get modified. And so you're going to see that date match exactly the same point that I started that encryption process. I just wanted to point that out. Anyway, I'm going to go back to my local disk. I'm going to go to scripts, go to my local host, workstation ransomware. I'm going to right click this, run with PowerShell. And then from here, we're going to do that documents folder. So I'm going to select documents, and this is going to theoretically encrypt everything that is in this documents folder. I'm going to click OK. And as you can see, we now have the prompt that says, hey, an encryption process was started. Would you like to white label that? Was that you, or do you need us to stop it? We can select how long that's whitelisted for. And I'm going to say that was not something I started. And basically, if you press yes, it's going to whitelist the process for that time period, so about 5 to 10 minutes. And then that's so you can go back and actually start that encryption process manually yourself if you meant to actually do that for security purposes. In my case, I click no, which means nothing is going to get whitelisted. And by the way, if you don't reach that prompt in time, it's just not going to whitelist the process. So you don't have to worry about reaching it in time. The encryption process started before that prompt. The encryption process is stopped even after that, even before that prompt shows up. All right, so I'm going to go back to my documents. And now, as you can see, some of these honeypot files are showing now, and that's because they were modified. So they're no longer hidden files, and they are encrypted themselves, and we can tell kind of what got chewed through and what didn't. So if we look at our date modified, so far it looks like nothing in any of these folders got modified because they're the same dates we had before. But if we go to business plan 2021, this is one that it actually got. So we can see it was modified at 1:16 p.m. Central Time. Same thing with Christmas party. But after that is when we see that that tripwire starts, where these files, these honeypot files, are the ones that it's encrypting, and then we can see that it's kind of halting this and slowing it down like a tripwire. It kind of gets through to about this dummy file, shows a few more of these honeypot files, and it stops right at around these Excel files right here. So just to show you, I'm going to show you this is completely encrypted. There's nothing of value right here anymore. But if I go to one of these files that has supposedly not been encrypted because it was saved by the honeypot files, I can click this and you can see that all that information is intact. And of course, if I go to business docs, it looks like none of this was modified. So I can click this. It's showing. Dummy file is showing. Christmas party is showing. So that's how you could see what got encrypted and what didn't. Now, at this point, you might be asking yourself, okay, well, if the ransomware still infected my system and I lost a couple of my files, then what is the value of this? And the value of this is that it's still not going to affect most of your files. Once the encryption process trips over those honeypot files, everything else is still going to be preserved, meaning you can take those files and move them to another system where it's completely unaffected and those files will be safe. The reality is, in most cases, ransomware should not affect your business. If you are training your employees properly, you're setting the proper password parameters, you're using technology like 2FA and malware protection, ransomware should not be a major issue for you. However, this provides you a last line of defense should ransomware actually infect your system and it's bypass all your other security and all the extra steps you've been building out so that you don't get infected in the first place. Now, in order to combat the issue of a couple important files actually getting encrypted as the honeypot file process goes on, what I would always recommend is that you place important files or a copy of them lower in your system folders. So for example, you saw in this documents folder that the encryption process started to encrypt files in this documents folder, but it did not start to hit them a layer down. The reason is because generally an encryption process is going to start with more of the surface layer directories first, and then it's going to kind of keep chewing through. And the beauty of Zebra Ransomware Stopper is if I click this view, you'll see that all the files I have defended and all the different folders have their own honeypot files. So meaning that the ransomware would have to go through all of this and then start to actually chew through more honeypot files here in order to get to your important documents. You can also see my desktop was protected, so I have those on my desktop as well, and it basically creates a minefield for the ransomware. Now, you also might be wondering, how do I protect only certain folders instead of the entire system? I wouldn't recommend only protecting a couple of folders versus the entire system because of that minefield system that I just mentioned before. But if you only want to protect a couple folders, you can go to this CryptoStopper app right here, and you can actually see what folders are being protected. Now, these are all the folders where the honeypot files are installed right here. And if I want to manage it, I click Add or Remove. And of course, I can, do the entire drive right here if I want to. Or what I can do is I can just select individual folders. So I could unselect all this and then maybe just choose to have documents, for example. Or maybe I want to not actually encrypt my ransomware example folder. I can just go ahead and do this, and any encryption process will go through on that like normal because there's no honeypot files installed. Now, another thing I want you to be aware of is that if you want to whitelist an actual encryption process manually before it's started, you can go here and you can add it, select the script or the program that starts the encryption process on your system, and it will go ahead and ignore that automatically, permanently. And of course, if you go to settings, this is where it's going to show just any customer info, your name, let you set a password, let you set an organization, that kind of thing. Alright, I hope this demonstration was helpful for you so that you could at least see Zebra Ransomware Stopper in action, see a encryption script actually get stopped in real time, and of course get a little bit of a feel for the different settings and options that are available for you so that you can have a little bit more granular control. If you are interested in Zebra Ransomware Stopper, there will be a link in the description of this video to go to the ZebraHost website and actually contact us or order Zebra Ransomware Stopper for yourself. And of course, if you have any questions, you can always reach out to us to our sales email, which will also be in the description.